All right, let's call this meeting of the Ad hoc Coherent Governance Policy Manual Committee to order. If we could stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Approval of agenda.
So moved.
Rachel, you have to second because I can't.
Second, sorry, I wasn't sure what was there.
I have everything that we have in board docs, Rachel. Do you have access or do I need to email to you?
No, I have access.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
In favor?
3-0. There are no publics here for comments. Approval of the February 3rd minutes. That's the next thing on the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? 3-0.
In favor?
Okay, now we get to the meat of the meeting.
You want to tell Rachel who's here?
Rachel, David, Tricia, Wendy's here, and Earl is here.
Okay, fantastic. I do have a question. There it is. Okay. So the newest chart is in board docs, correct?
Yes, the one that David just emailed out, that's the one we have in board docs.
Okay, perfect. Just want to be sure that's the current one.
And the newest draft, the changes that I made as of the last meeting, that's what you have in board docs as well. And that's what they have in front of them in folders.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, we finished the GC quadrant last time. So let's move on to the BD CEO relation quadrant and try to get through that. And then we'll slip on into the OEs if we can. And then maybe between the BD and the OE, you can talk about the diagram and the intro or anything else.
And before we leave it, I want to have you all clarify some questions that I had as I was trying to put things in.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, the first thing in the BD quadrant is 2.2, Roman numeral 3, D, and F.
Page 5. And I thought that was BSR 2. So the board would give direction to the superintendent and his staff for majority decision of the full board rather than for individual decisions. And right here for single unit control, the board will direct the superintendent.
I agree. I had BSR 2, and I also had GC 2 and 6, so
Okay.
either way it's covered,
Yeah.
I think. How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I think the one I have, the quadrant, the thing I have, the quadrant doesn't have the numbers on it. Oh wait, yeah, now it does. Sorry, it wasn't on the first page, it was on the second page, or third page. Got it. Okay.
All right.
So you said it was BSR 2.
Yep.
I also had BSR 4. You guys? And just the board will provide direction to the superintendent, so it's covered.
Yeah, I think it's
Good, okay.
So
okay, so you can just put BSR 2. You don't have to worry about the GC ones.
okay.
The next one is 2.5, which is right.
David, did we look at F? I'm sorry. Did we do the 2.23 F?
Oh, 2. to.
About the board members will refer compliments, suggestions, did we say that was covered?
I thought it was, but
You had,
maybe that's the GC 2 and 6.
you had me move that to VCR-2, and I made that a number
Number
3.
That's what I thought, is the
Yes.
note I have right here.
Yeah, so we,
Okay.
so
We
that's
got
already
that
been
in there.
moved.
Excellent,
Already
okay.
moved.
Already moved, and
Alright.
so that other one, D, will become 5, Robin?
No, they said it's already been covered, we don't
It's
have to
covered.
change anything.
Oh, it's covered,
No need
okay,
to.
okay, is covered, okay.
Yeah. So now 2.5 is our next one, which is delegation of authority to the superintendent. And I got that that was covered by BSR 2, BSR 4, except for letter C. That was what I had.
Mhm. Yeah, I had letter C should be OE2, you're right, so I agree, so not letter C, and then the other two I have, they should be in,
Yes, all right, what?
2
No.
and 4, okay, both of those. And 2.5C should be added somewhere.
Yeah, it's an OE2.
OE2?
I think so.
Oh,
That's what I had too, Rachel.
Okay, so 2.5C becomes OE2.
Okay,
Okay. The next is 2.6, superintendent accountability and job description.
and that was supposed, that R means it was gonna be rewritten.
Yeah, see, I've got it at BSR 5,
Superintendent accountability,
but it's
okay. See,
probably
it's covered.
not as inclusive, but I don't remember.
Um,
Let's see.
when I went through this, David, and Rachel, everybody, I was thinking that the Roman numeral 1 might not even be needed. And then I had BSR 5 for Roman numeral 2. And then I also, under 2B, I changed performance to operational expectations.
Yeah, that's gonna be like a scan and replace,
Okay.
or we're gonna leave it as performance, I don't know how we're gonna do it.
Okay, okay.
So, we're gonna delete, Roman numeral 1.
It was just a thought, I don't know if everybody agrees.
I think the second part of it is kind of important for that part that we're gonna have to craft with regard to, grievances or goes to that.
Oh, okay, so Rachel, what
Only
part,
based on part.
which part of it, of Roman numeral 1 do you think is important?
The last part, the liaison between personnel and board,
Um,
because we've got that whole,
Yeah.
we've left it very open to the super to decide whether or not they want the communication to be directly between the board and senior staff, or if it's gonna flow through the super. We've left that kind of open, so that whole liaison between those personnel and the board. I don't know if that,
Yeah, you better leave it in then too, that makes sense, do you agree?
So where does it go?
So we put 1 and 2 both in BSR 5?
That's what I was thinking.
So does it become its own bullet? Does it come as the paragraph under superintendent accountability?
I would say it becomes its own, paragraph or something up at the top there. because if we leave it, I mean, it sure seems like an overarching thought, like a, introductory kind of, this is the role of the superintendent.
Yep.
And then everything else is kind of subservient to that, as far as explaining all those different parts.
So add it to the first paragraph.
I was thinking even,
Just adding Roman numeral 1 to the first paragraph, but then you go under superintendent's responsibilities. Does that start becoming its own?
no, I thought those were covered in BS.
Yeah, that's what I
So,
thought,
so
Those-
2 is covered.
2 is
but I don't
covered.
think
Okay.
1 is.
All right.
Yeah, so
All right.
1 would be added to, like, before this paragraph or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, and then 2, I think is already covered in BSR
Gotcha.
5.
That's what I thought.
Do you have that too, David? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. The next one is 3.4, Roman numeral 2, A and B. Which is individual authority. Board members may not exercise individual authority. I'm not sure how many times we have to say this, but I don't think we can say it too many times.
I'm sorry, did we finish 2.6? What about number 3? Qualifications? I didn't think it needed to be in there. I think that's a contract.
Right, so
Right, so,
that gets deleted. I mean, I don't need to do anything with that.
Right, that's what I was thinking. And then what about 4? It's still under 2.6, superintendent's appointment. I thought that maybe that could be added at the end of, see this paragraph here that says, all employment decisions regarding superintendent remain within the sole and continuing discretion of the board.
What page are you
What document?
BSR 5,
on? BSR 5.
right?
Okay.
And we're looking
Okay.
at 2.6 number, Roman numeral 4.
Okay. Superintendent's appointment. Okay.
yeah, I didn't think that was necessary.
You didn't think that was necessary?
Yeah.
Okay. Rachel, do you have an opinion on Roman numeral 4? Contract is
Yeah, I just have to take it or leave it.
Wasn't there previously, see this last statement on number 4 where it says a public document is, the contract is a public document? There must have been a specific reason why that was put in there, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I just didn't know if it was worthwhile keeping Roman numeral 4 and adding it to the bottom of BSR 5.
No, I mean, if it already is a public document, then I don't know if we really need to say it. It's for that whole getting into things only because there was past history.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the old trade-off. We can either be explicit, so there's no misunderstanding,
Yeah.
which leads to a very large document,
Mhm.
or we can be general and assume reasonable interpretation. We've had a little problem with the reasonable interpretation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think it's needed, but if you all do, certainly.
No, we can pull it out.
Okay.
Take it out.
There's no legal reason to have that in, right? Okay.
We got into a lot of weeds before.
And I thought that number 8, Roman numeral 8 was covered under OE1.
I'll go with that.
Okay.
Do do we need anything about a formative evaluation? It says on page 34, the board will conduct a formal summative evaluation. I mean, I don't know, I'm just asking. When we talk about your work, is that something, do we need that formative evaluation? Additional.
What is that under?
Page 19 of the current policy. 'Cause the Horry County says the board will conduct a formal summative evaluation of the superintendent based
Yeah.
upon data collected. I feel like
we
that
thought
covers
that
that pretty
covered
well. Okay, good. I just want to double check. Sounds good to me. Just make sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
good.
thought it was covered.
Number 7, right? It says each October, we changed it, talked to the board will conduct a formal summative evaluation.
Each October.
Right.
And monitor results of operations, so good. So we got everything on that one, right?
Okay, you done with that one?
Yes, sir, thank you.
No, that's fine. 3.4, Roman numeral 2A and B is, that's the board members may not attempt to exercise individual authority over the organization. Instead, board members will refer complaints, speak behalf, communicate explicitly stated board decisions, salute flags, hug puppies. I don't know what to do with that. I put it that GC7 covers it.
So I have
GC7?
two.
Which GC7
Remember code of conduct.
has a whole section on members focusing on issues, respecting decisions, exercising honesty, criticizing privately, hugging puppies. There it is, hugging puppies. Make every reasonable effort to protect the integrity. I think it's all covered there. Behavioral issues. That's just my thought.
Yeah, I think that the small group, the reason why 3.42 A and B, just Roman numeral 2, A and B, these are the only two that we did not include into GC, into the governance culture. But you know, I don't have written down what we were thinking, where it would go. I think it was like, maybe that belonged more in the BSR. So refer complaints back into the system with notification to the superintendent. Yeah, I think,
I think it's covered, but let me go back and check. See if GC7 says that. It says praise publicly and criticize privately. I don't know. Then respecting the decisions of the full board's covered in there too.
You will have me add in there, each member has an obligation to bring constituent issues or new initiatives to the board. That became the new, board member, each board member is obligated to act in the best interest of the school system as a whole. That also,
Or we added that to that GC. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I mean, at some point you have to go more global and just, you know, the reasonable man interpretation of this is certain things, so.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although we have to change that to reasonable person.
Which
That's
one?
true, that's true.
Oh. I'm sorry. So, nothing else under 3.4, this is basically GC 7.
Right.
So everything's okay.
Everything's covered.
Okay, gotcha.
The last one in this quadrant is 5.1 and it says rewrite.
Okay.
And the only thing I had was add some to BSR 5s. I obviously ran out of energy by the time I got to 5.1.
Yeah, and the small group got to the point where, I mean, the time was up, we were, yeah. And we thought that very first sentence was going to take some energy. The board believes its most important function is the formulation and adoption of policy. Is that true, or is it governance? So,
No difference.
governance through policy, huh?
Yeah.
Right, so that's why we put revise.
Yeah, that's kind of a valuable statement. Let me look at BSR 5. That's superintendent accountability. So just thought things should be added to BSR 5. As I recall, we eliminated pretty much Roman numeral 3.
Uh-huh.
A bunch of them anyhow. Yeah, I don't know. There's an awful lot of things in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of it's conflicting with, like, well, Roman numeral 3, gay, for example.
See, some of this I thought was included in the GC. You know, the board's governing commitments, the board will govern lawfully, primary emphasis on results for students, focus on governance matters rather than, that's,
Yeah.
that kind of, I thought, took away Roman numeral 1. Because this is the BSR relationship, this is not, this is what this
Right.
section should focus on, and number 1 just sounded more like a governance statement type thing.
Yeah, the only thing that gave me pause was the last sentence, which is the delegation of certain executive powers. And I think that is covered in here, in the B something. But,
These, authority of the superintendent.
yeah, I thought it was in 4, but it's not explicitly in 4. So I don't know. I would add that last sentence to BSR 4.
Board
Which is the
delegates.
authority of the superintendent. Yeah, I would add that the
Delegate
board
certain executive
delegates
powers.
certain executive powers to the superintendent to manage schools.
That would become a number 6.
And that's what I would
Okay,
think, but I'm just 1 of 3, so.
right. What do you think, Trish?
Yeah, that's good, I think that's good.
Put it there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rachel?
Do we have what those certain executive powers are somewhere?
Yeah, good, it's a good question. I guess it's whatever we delegate, yeah.
Wouldn't you define it as you delegate it? Because right now you couldn't list every single thing as they come up.
Well, that's why I'm looking at, there's that sentence, and then there's Roman numeral 3 where it says the board will do the following, and then Roman numeral 4 says the super will do the following. So that kind of lays out
Yeah,
somewhat of how that functions.
yep,
With that, the super is delegated to do the following, and then the board's role in the governance of that, and follow up on that.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah, we don't even need that sentence based on those two.
Because I think that's pretty clear in what the roles are of, with regard to specific items of delegation.
Yep, yeah, I agree with you.
So are we adding the 3 and 4 back in there?
Yes.
The board will do the following, and then the superintendent will do the following?
That is a good question.
Yeah, I think I would almost take out Roman numeral 2. Like I keep Roman numeral 1 because it talks about that delegation, and then go straight into, I'd make Roman numeral 3 number 2, because then it lists those things out. And then you don't really have to touch on 5 because it's already been covered previously, because that's kind of redundant. 6 makes sense to keep because but it also is touching again on that whole individual authority of board members.
Mm-hmm.
It brings in committees also, which I don't know if that's been clearly stated previously.
I think so. I think there's one that talks to committees, but we didn't craft anything around it because we thought that would be a big discussion point.
Yeah, under committee authority
Yeah.
or formation of them. I'm looking at the remainder, like Roman numeral 7, 9, and 10 here to see if they're even necessary or not.
I don't think they are.
Well, I think 10 was interesting,
Some
though.
are redundant.
I thought 10 was very interesting. This is our current policy, right? These are our current policies.
Yes.
And, thought number 10 was kind of interesting. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because it's the exact opposite of approving the
Right.
monthly report.
Right. Except it's required by law.
The law requires you
To approve
the hiring,
Hiring.
or whatever. So,
Right.
so that's why you do that.
That's not the part I was thinking more
So-
about discipline,
The discipline
dismissal.
and the part that's required by law. When you deal with the contracts and stuff, that's why you do A, B, and C. That stuff is written because the board does that. And then the board has the right to do a hearing if a employee, breaks or,
The Teacher Dismissal Act?
yes.
Mhm.
So then that becomes before the board, but the board can't be involved in it prior to that.
To that.
So really, I would get rid of this.
You get rid of it.
Because it's contradictory and,
We did say we're going to operate lawfully.
yes, we said unlawfully, absolutely. So, yeah, I would get rid of all of them, 7, 9, and 10. Look, that's just me.
I think 9 is redundant. I think we have said that
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
9 is redundant. eight's already been crossed out anyway, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
I thought that 6 was stated earlier and many times, right?
Right.
I mean, 5 is,
Been stated
I
in here.
mean,
You'll cross that one out.
Yeah.
We crossed that one out.
All matters related to day-to-day operation, it's already in there.
I think that the only thing with number 10 is that it may possibly belong in a new section where we talk about, it doesn't seem like it fits in there. As we're talking about board superintendent relationship,
Right.
and that's talking about,
the board.
it's talking about the board
The board's
and with regard
responsibility.
to board employee relationship almost.
Do you think that would go in GC 3?
Let me see.
Because that's the board job description.
I'm trying to see if it's covered anywhere else in here. Yeah, it would belong more in GC3, I think, than where it presently is.
Because it talks about what the board will do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any strong feelings about it one way or the other.
Okay.
So we're moving 10 to,
I think it would
GC3.
belong in GC3 as opposed to where it is right now, because I don't think it fits where
okay,
it is now.
Okay,
Um,
so we're moving 10. We're getting rid of 5, 6, 7, and 9. So 4 and 3, we have to do something with them.
mhm.
1, 3, because you all were talking about now keeping the paragraph 1, because it goes along with 3 and 4.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I think it should be,
1, 2,
just
4.
Roman numeral 1, draft 2, be 3, 4. Don't think 5, 6, 7, 1, 9 are necessary.
You're suggesting 1, 2, then 3,
Not 2,
okay,
because that's pretty much covered in the last sentence of 1. The board
Okay.
delegates certain accepted powers to them.
So we go 1, 3, 4,
1, 3, 4,
I think so.
and we make that, what, BSR 5, or BSR, whatever the next number is, or we add it to BSR 5?
we're adding it to BSR 5 or making a new number?
It's called GSR 5.
You know, what's interesting is that,
BSR 5 superintendent accountability. My feeling is this needs to be separate, just because there's so much into it.
So this might become a BSR 6.
That's just my feeling.
yeah, I think that works better than trying to fit it into, yeah. I was also wondering on Roman numeral 3, what the board will do. Remember we got that, we had the concern about who can operate schools? Opening and closing of schools,
Yeah,
and I just didn't know if it needed to be
that's
explicit.
state law.
Yeah, it's a statute.
Yeah, but it was
That's
We have a
state law.
policy
But
about
that's
it.
the old
It's the
thing about, it
interpretation
could be
of-
state law,
Mhm.
but nobody, we don't read the state laws, especially new board members. I'd be shocked if they came in and read the state laws.
So you think by saying, operate lawfully would cover
Yeah,
that?
I think it's covered because that's a law. And I think in the new member handbook, we need to put the state laws.
It would be really helpful.
I think it would be
I
helpful.
do. sound judgment in business affairs at BCSD. Right?
Just so I'm clear, 1, 3, and 4 becomes BSR dash, we're gonna make it a 6.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
What's the title of it?
BSR is gonna become 6.
Right, but we
Yeah,
have to have a
we have to
name,
put
we
a title on
have to name it.
This whole BSR, like 5.1, was, this is one of the 4 sections in
Of the,
Yeah,
coherent governance, and we had one policy for it.
right. It's like,
Interesting.
an artifact of strategic governance.
Yeah.
so will this be a continuation of superintendent accountability?
Board superintendent relations.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
we
under
took-
board relationship, but,
Yeah.
but then, but it's an additional,
But it's
see,
just-
5 is the superintendent accountability, so
Right,
we,
and this would be,
Because they have board superintendent relationship at BSR 4.
this
the
would
whole
be
thing is,
delegation of authority, right?
okay,
Delegation of powers.
Delegation of authority or
Powers.
delegation of powers, okay.
That's pretty much what it does, right?
Yeah, in that sense, it said delegate certain powers, so
Right.
we use the same terminology.
We'll try it,
Yeah.
see how it goes. So I'm sure there'll be quite a bit of discussion on the full board. Okay, so we're done with that quadrant.
Okay, oh, that's great.
Now, before we go on to the operational expectations or performance expectations, if we called them PDs, then we wouldn't have to change all the wordings. It's the same thing, but before we go on to that, is that diagram all right?
Yes.
What do you think?
I think it's,
Seems too simple.
well, I think seems so true, that the, government, GC and the BSRs are over here, the strategic plans at the top. The way I read this, though, is that the results come from the operational expectations, and I thought the results came
Uh-huh,
from a strategic plan,
uh-huh,
that they don't come out of the OEs. The
right,
OEs are the operational, and results are the evaluative type
you're right,
thing.
you're right.
Am I right?
So,
So we have to move the OEs
Well, I was thinking just, it's more like
let's take it
this,
straight, just have a line.
right?
and say,
Straight
oh,
down
yeah,
to results.
The results.
instead
there, like that, okay.
of- Right, but all the way down to results.
Yeah, all the way down, so I mean, they're
So,
the same.
and then take
So
this
make
one
this
out.
bigger, and this would come down,
Yeah,
results.
you're right.
I can't see it, but I'm sure it's fabulous.
they'll redo it and resend it.
Yes.
It's a lot
Artistic
simpler than the last
creativity.
one.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
I think that's got it nailed then. Okay. I will make those changes, that change. It looks simple, but I'm not that good with words, so it always takes me. Oh, well, I'm getting
No,
better.
this has taken us a while to get here, and I'm so glad you did it visually, because David is,
sense.
it's making everything make sense.
I know.
And then the results are basically what in the strategic plan, what those goals, I don't know if I use the word goals, but what the goals are. Those are
The results.
the results that are in the
Results are the
strategic
results.
plan.
Yeah, we no longer have goals.
Well, but we might have board goals.
That's different.
We might have
Oh, I
board
know,
goals.
oh, I know that, yeah.
And that's what's on the top.
As evidenced
But the
by,
board goals can't be different than the district goals.
no, they just are
The
not,
district goals, they can be more comprehensive.
Right.
The board can have more goals than the district, but the district can't have goals that are not in the board's goals.
and maybe the board's goals are not quantifiable, they're just global.
The evaluation of superintendent certainly is, I mean, that's the fifth goal.
to effectively govern and measure the performance of the superintendent.
Right,
So, I mean,
that's the evaluation.
right, so that's just the fact of the goal
And
is
develop
supervising.
policy, that's not, that's
Right.
strictly board.
Question, should, in this document, when we said we're setting the goals, we should be doing that annually.
Correct.
That's not the date so when should that be done?
Board goals or the strategic plan? So from now on, when we say goals, we're gonna be talking board goals, because otherwise it's in the strategic plan, right?
Okay.
And its results. Yeah, the board goals should be reset every year.
And when would you
That
do
was
that? And when would you
originally-
do that?
Originally, we said it was gonna be in the spring.
We said February or March, so that, because the goals should come along the same time that you're establishing the budget.
Right.
Because the budget was supposed to be able to support the goals.
Right.
The goals, then we said you were setting, so the superintendent's goals would be set in the fall. So if you're setting the board's goals in the spring, the budget is approved, your budget would go along with the goals, and then you would,
Mhm.
would that be documented in this document here?
It probably should be, I know there's something in there that says that we evaluate the policies each year.
Mhm.
There's already something in there.
Right, because that's the
And
work
we
plan.
said it was in October.
Right, because you have to approve your work plan,
Right.
so to get to that part, we gotta work backwards up to,
Board goals. Yeah, I'm not sure the board goals are ever gonna change, but
Yeah.
they could. They're so, what do they call them,
lofty or
aspirational,
aspirational.
aspirational goals, and I don't
Yeah,
think-
student achievement,
Yeah.
teachers and highly qualified teachers and admin,
Right,
fiscal responsibility, policy development, and supervision of superintendent.
oh, I know my heart.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I don't think they're gonna change, so. We probably should say that every year at some point in time.
Right, because we have a
Or
date on
adopt
that, so,
And I
like,
would-
do we have a revised, or just keep
Right.
in here as an adopted date? They were adopted that year.
well, that
and then-
was, when did we adopt our goals this year?
We did not adopt our goals.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yes, we did.
Yes,
The
we
results,
did.
before
Yeah,
we
the
get to the
results,
results.
yes, we
we
did.
do the
We
goals.
voted on those,
Yes.
yeah.
So I need to update that and put what we
Yeah,
adopted.
whenever that was,
When
Go
was
back.
that? We,
Have to go look up that date for the
summer,
results.
it was right after the results committee started. And whenever we did it, we should do that again.
Mhm.
And the summer's a great time to do it, because I don't think it's gonna change.
no, because you're basically looking at, well, first of all, you should evaluate how we did on the goals of this year before setting the new goals.
Right.
Where would they go in this document at all? Or would they be at the introduction, or would they
I
be,
would think that it would be
It
under,
would go under
at the beginning
governance
of the?
somewhere.
yeah.
I would think that it should be in governance, but we don't have it in our current policies.
Right, because they were the board goals, and then there's something that should be added to it.
Yeah, I would say we need to add that to GC two, governing commitments. Because that talks about the monitoring of the OEs and stuff. board needs to review its goals each year
And
at whatever date we set.
are you there, Rachel?
I'd say-
Yes, ma'am.
I'd say prior to September, because that, September is when you're gonna start working on the evaluations.
So under GC1, where it has board purpose, and then it has the board is guiding its decision-making by the following beliefs. We believe, blah, blah, blah.
Well, you're rewriting that whole.
Yeah,
GC.
Yes, we were talking
Right.
about rewriting that, right.
So what our goals go into where you're rewriting is what.
I don't think, I mean,
No.
when I see that these are your beliefs, they shouldn't change,
Change.
and I think
Okay.
goals can change. So I was just wondering if GC6 could not have a change in title and not just be annual work plan, but could also be annual goal setting and work plan. And we could have it, you know, these are the deadlines, these are the dates that things, you know, need to be done. And the board will set goals,
Yeah, put a number 3.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
just,
good.
is that,
That fits there. If we put a number 3 that says the board will review its goals each year by August.
mm-hmm. And then up here, maybe just annual work plan and board goals or something, just so that the title,
The board will review its goals
Annually,
annually by,
by August. Because the work plan has to be provided by August, so just go with that.
okay.
You okay with that, Rachel?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so we got the diagram, we got that one. Now, we are gonna have another task, which is to go through our current policies and make sure that nothing was missed, putting it into the quadrant. But that'll be a wrap-up. I'm not sure what we're gonna do with the OEs. But we can go through that quadrant.
with the OEs.
Yeah, because we know that the OEs all have to be derived from the strategic plan. So we can do this matchup, but then we're gonna have to go back and make sure that they're all derived from the strategic plan. And then once I say that, I realize that there's an OE that we have to have for doing a cost benefit on all instructional services and software, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not sure that's in the strategic plan, so I'm on the fence. I'm just blabbing out my thought process here. There are probably gonna be some OEs added that aren't in the strategic plan, so I
Well-
don't know how that works.
You know, I did some of that under like instructional program, PE 1.5. You know, ensure that all instructional programs are evaluated and modified as necessary to assure their continuing effectiveness. You know, so I mean, it's some of them.
Kinda in there, but I really feel strongly that, you know, we have to explicitly say
I didn't look at the financial
that,
ones though.
that the benefits have to be articulated prior to purchase. Whatever the motion said,
Yeah.
I feel strong that that needs to be emphasized.
Okay, so yeah, we have to go
So,
through and.
yeah, I just bring that up because it's the issue of all OEs have to come from a strategic plan, but then I realized that some of them might not. We might come up with new ones that are not in the strategic plan, so, and we can't add it to the strategic plan because that belongs to the community.
Right.
So So I got in a philosophical quandrum, and I think then I got up and went out and petted my dogs, and had a cup of coffee.
Good idea.
Always refreshing to let your dog
Give
have
myself a
coffee.
headache
Yeah.
thinking about it. Well, I guess we can deal with that at some point. That's just a conceptual quandary I have that we can probably have to deal with at some point in time.
Yeah.
But if I guess for our immediate task, we just go through this quadrant and
Okay.
and see where we think they should go, or where the work group thought they should go. So we start with 2.1, Roman numeral 2, A, 1, 2, 3, 6, 8. Now I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got X's next to 1, 2, 3. So I don't know. And I've got, what do I have next to 8? I got nothing next to 8 right now. So 1, 2, 3, 6, 8. The work group thought belonged as an operational expectation. And I don't believe it can be an operational expectation because it's talking about the board.
Yeah.
I have an X through number 1 also. Is that right? Okay, and then number 2, you have an X through?
Mhm. I don't know why I asked it. But they can't be operational expectations because those are districts. And these are board,
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
these are all board rule things. So they would have to go in a GC if they went anywhere.
The other thing, the little group committee that I was on did have an OE next to number 3, rigorously monitor performance.
Again, that's a board function, so it can't be an OE.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
think that's covered under
Yeah.
the GC already.
Okay, cool, all right.
So that's 1, 2, 3. 6 is complying with state procurement processes. That's a district thing. Oh, ensuring that that's ensuring the district complies. I don't know about that one.
Community safe to follow law, so would that be?
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
mean,
That's right.
that seems to be a given to me, but because it is law. I think procurement processes are law. It's a regulation.
Statutes.
It's a regulation.
Your statutes that govern.
And 8 is minority and women-owned business enterprises, and again, that's a regulation, I believe, but I'm not sure.
That's,
I see.
that's a PE.
That's a PE.
That's a PE.
All right,
That
so
gets that gets reported, to you all out of finance, so that's currently a PE.
it's already a PE.
Yeah, so we put an OE next to that, well, same thing.
Right,
yeah.
so it is, it's already in our PEs.
Mhm. So where would it go? I don't remember reading that in the OEs. But I didn't really read a lot of the
But
finance
Rob's
books.
talking about
Our current
Yeah.
PEs,
Mhm.
which I think are gonna be important. Actually, I think we're gonna take those and put them right into the OE section.
Take all our PEs right now and just make them.
That's my current thinking, is we would take all our current PEs and they all go in as OEs.
But there are some that are redundant.
Some of them might be redundant.
Yeah.
And this one sounds like it is. You mean within ours, or redundant to the OEs they already have? I got you,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
Like, here's one, allocate and protect instructional time to support student learning. That's one of our PEs. That's the same as OE 10.9, so.
Mhm. Yeah, after we get through these that are on the quadrant, maybe we'll just take our current PEs,
I can print out our,
our
have
current
these
PEs,
for
and
the
then
next one
and
and
do
you
the
can
same
match,
thing.
match them.
And combine them.
See our current PEs and do the same kind of matching
With the OEs?
with the
Yeah, that's
OEs.
what, yeah. Isn't that what you wanted the committees to do?
That's, yeah,
So that's, yeah, okay, that's why I started doing that. Because didn't you say at the board meeting that'd be very helpful?
make sure that they were, you have to make sure they were derived from the strategic plan and do the matching, but I have my misgivings about whether all the committees are gonna do that.
Well, I wouldn't know what to do unless I was on this committee. You know, if I were, well, you're the chair of the ops, but I mean, if I were Joanne for the finance, I wouldn't really, I mean, unless she's probably much more familiar with all this than I am, but, so just, 2.1, number 8,
Mhm.
okay? Looks to me that that's this, same as our PE 3, 5. Base purchases upon the state and district procurement practices taken into account, needs of board of minority and women, business enterprises.
You got it.
It's right there.
You got it.
All right,
that's-
so
that's
that's,
PE
it's already
3.5.
PE 3.5.
Yeah,
So when we go to the PEs, then and bring the PEs in, it's already covered.
yeah.
Okay, you with us, Rachel?
Yep.
Something, I'm not sure we make sense.
No,
That's
I'm
why,
following.
that's why I keep checking. Okay, that takes us to,
So we can just cross out all of the whole first 2.1 all the way through
To 8.
because it's all covered.
and 8's covered, yeah. Eight
Okay.
is, and 8 is PE 3.5. So it takes us to 2.3, Roman numeral 6, Roman numeral 7, and Roman numeral 8. Okay, there's the turning of pages.
That's where we added them.
For policies.
Oh, those,
And
okay.
it says 6, 7, and 8.
Those are the ones that,
We said a handbook, right?
okay.
I've got handbook or OEs.
I've got, I've got OEs.
And they're actually revised in the ARs too, you know, for the point.
Adding
one and
those are
one.
OEs.
Okay,
Mhm.
so those are OEs.
Mhm. Where do they go?
They're either gonna be their own OEs or they're gonna match ours. I don't think they match any of
I
ours.
don't think so,
Mhm.
because these are all somewhat new, aren't they?
These are our new ones.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
these are,
So each one will.
if we decide, if the board decides to keep these, then you're right, they don't necessarily line up at all with the, these are, you're not gonna find this in the
Not gonna
strategic
find
plan.
Too specific. Yep,
Mm-mm.
yeah,
Because
and
those were
that's
like-
the deal. These were motions that were made.
That's right.
Motions and, mhm.
That became policies.
Became policy.
And became administrative, they were incorporating the administrative rep too.
Right.
Except for that monthly list is in the AR right now. that it could be.
They went into, ARs.
Except for 8 isn't
Yeah,
in,
but
is
that
not
has to
in
do
AR.
with the
moment.
chair, so you
Is
can't,
that-
Yeah,
can't have an AR.
yeah, we have this, we have 6 and 7 added in AR.
So, okay, so let me ask you then, if the board's will is to decide to keep that, would that not go under GC? A governing commit, like, you know, we go back
Sounds like
to,
it to me.
you go back to where the board is. Rachel, are you with me? I'm with,
One.
Roman numeral 8, 2.38, a monthly list will be created of all external documents. If you go back to GC3, board job description,
Mhm.
God, it's so specific, isn't it? It would seem that that would be,
No, because that's, in my opinion, that's something that's created by staff based on actions of the chair. So I would think it's an OE.
but is that created by staff or is that created by Robin? and Robin is our staff compared to, I'm just as opposed to
Yeah.
like, you know, compared to district staff. I think that's a real board internal type thing versus a district internal type thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and again, you know, if we have the overarching idea that our OEs are coming from, our OEs or our PEs, whichever, are coming from our strategic plan, we're not gonna see
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
in a strategic plan.
True.
yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah, then I guess it does have to go under GC.
if we wanna keep, yeah, and I mean, we can't decide not to put, so it's gotta go somewhere.
Gotta go somewhere.
And that's the most logical place then.
Yeah.
Unless it's in the handbook. But it's pretty darn specific.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it necessarily belongs to
Well,
the handbook.
yeah, cause it's,
Handbook's more like feel good.
Yeah.
it's more like need to knows, not have to
Yeah.
do's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
Oh, yeah,
Think of that.
that's how I view it. The handbook is a need to know, it's a guide for members.
Right,
These are
versus,
things that have to be done.
yeah, so
No,
that's what,
no ifs, ands, and buts, these have to be done. So they, yeah, they have to go into GC. And that previous motion I was talking about, when they'll purchase a software, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Would travel right with them,
with that same thought.
right? Would travel, wherever these go, that would go right with it. Which maybe answers my question about when motions get passed, where do they go?
Yeah.
To be kept in perpetuity.
You know what though, but David and Rachel using that line of thought? So what about number, and I'm looking right at Wendy and Earl, what about number 6 and 7? Those are not board actions, those are district staff has to,
And those got put into the administrative regulations, both of those.
so, number,
I know number 6 is in that, AR, inform the board of a purchase or contract of $100,000 or more.
but I think when you think about who's doing the action,
Right.
The
Roman numeral
finance
8
people,
is,
right.
is
The
Robin.
staff, yeah,
Yeah.
and 6
and
and 7
7.
are finance staff, right.
Right, so it's almost that, like 6 and 7 could stay as,
OEs.
just, yeah, and then 8 would go under a GC.
Well, I think it would go under GC3. But then I think 6 would go there too.
Do you?
Um,
The board shall authorize.
all right, I mean, it's talking about how the board approves budgets, the board approves this, the board approves that.
Okay,
So-
that makes sense too, so
So I would think 6 would go there, and I think
inform the board.
8 would go there also, yeah.
Okay, so 6 and 8, but 7 is inform the board of any
Right.
purchase, so does that go under?
Well, here, yeah, they have to do it monthly, so we'd have to have an OE that gets reported on each month. Right.
Which would have to come from a,
So 6 and 7 are OE?
No, 6 and 8 will go under GC
GC.
3.
6 and 8, GC3, okay.
We're going to GC 3, but we'll have to repeat that when Robin gets back, so she,
Yeah, and what about 7?
that's the one we're,
Working on, okay.
yeah, that's the
GC3
one
is
we-
6 and 8.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is an OE, and then it would be reported on a couple times a year whether it was
Yeah.
done monthly.
remember, our OEs are the district oversight, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's an OE. I think absolutely it's an
Okay.
OE. My only question is that my mindset is not that OEs are monthlies,
Yeah.
that they're annuals, but they could be monthly, we could just say.
Yeah.
We, 6 and 8 that we're working on here,
6 and
2.3,
8.
6 and 8 are gonna go under GC3, new number, whatever the best available number is under GC3.
GC3, new number.
Now we're trying to.
Excepted an emergency, the board shall authorize that.
Right. And also the monthly list of external documents signed by the chair. Both of those.
Yes,
yeah,
6
both
and
of-
8, yeah, I get those.
Both of those will go. And now we're thinking that 7 is an OE, but it would have to be an OE that's monthly.
Yeah, because at the bottom where it says monitor method, you can put your monitoring month, you just say how it's monitored.
That's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
That's true.
Because at the bottom, you tell it when you want it to be reviewed.
Yeah, good thought.
And it tells you it's an internal report, so if you want to make up, if we want to add it to an OE or become an OE new number, and then you can say it's monitor, the frequency is monthly.
Mhm. And the method is a report.
Internal report, or,
Right.
Yeah.
is that internal?
So strategic plan, 5.21, maintain internal oversight.
Yeah, we go
So
there.
it pulls,
So-
it could,
So it's derived.
so it's derived from there.
So we're making an OE
Mhm.
with a method of report to the board and the frequency monthly, just like you said.
So
Thank
is
you.
it become a new OE number, or we're sliding it under something?
I think it's a new one,
Number 7.
because I'd be stunned if
Yeah.
Horry County had anything even close to that. And there was a reason this was made so specific. And it was a motion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always think that once a motion is made, you can't really change it, but change the wording when you put it in policy. Remember, we've had that discussion. I feel strongly, but there are other points of view on that. All right, so are we good with making that an OE?
Yeah.
Number 7.
Yeah.
Everybody said? Good?
And number 6 is a number.
Okay, so we took care of those.
And then 8 is a GC.
All right, 6
6 and 8 are GCs.
6 and 8 are
6 and
GCs.
8.
Okay.
And 7 would be a new OE.
Okay.
That takes us to 2.4, Roman numeral 7A, which said it had to be rewritten.
This was moved to, that was moved to a GC, which you all had to put in. And this is under meetings. Let's see. I think I moved it to, okay, I moved it to GC2, and it became a M, no,
Was it about providing the materials? Is that the important part of this one?
I don't know, I had, the board would normally hold its regular meeting on the first and third Tuesday of each calendar month. Is that,
No, this
okay, this is,
what you do.
oh, this is when the stuff would be
Right.
noticed.
And I have next to that OE, what do you have?
I thought it was a GC because it's an internal board. It's what the assistant does.
That's me.
I know, somehow, I can't recall why, but I've got all board members and staff members are to provide all materials to the board executive assistant no later, and I had that kind of pulled out,
Right.
but I don't really remember. We had a conversation about that, didn't we?
I don't remember.
I think we did.
Yeah, we
And
focused
you-
on
you
two
put it
different
on-
parts. I focused on the executive assistant part. And
Okay.
it said it's gotta be a GC,
Uh-huh,
and you focused on the board members, well, the staff members.
about getting the materials.
Yeah.
And we had it asked to be rewritten, so I think that's why you rewrote it.
Right. Yeah, I'd put it in it as a GC and then decide, and then we can decide what to do with the staff members providing materials.
Okay. Operational expectation, but like you said then, I mean, you know,
Yeah,
that's.
that might become an LE, just that part.
Yeah.
Are we looking at 2.47A?
Yes,
Uh,
the board's executive assistant shall distribute notice. Blah, blah, blah.
then I don't think that goes under OEs.
No,
We just talked about, where does it go?
yeah, I think it has to go in as a GC because it's a board thing.
Yeah,
But Tricia was talking about further down in there where it talks about staff members providing materials to the executive assistant, whether that would be an OE. And I think we can leave that for a future discussion. I would just take it as is and
You know what?
make
Yeah.
it a GC.
Okay, but we might have to put that under BSR, because really superintendent, we do everything through him. He's the one that's getting the staff to provide materials. So that might have been the conversation we were having.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so can we take this as it is and then
Okay.
have that discussion and we'll stick it in the GC
The board's
Two.
executive says,
on governing commitments. GC2's getting kind of big, right?
But it's gonna be laid out so much better to be able to find it.
Yeah, so put it in GC2, whatever. the next
number 7,
is.
I guess it is, huh?
Okay.
And do that in total.
So all of 7 moves to GC2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when we discuss it, we'll have to
Mhm.
point out Tricia's issue,
Okay.
which is valid, and we have to do a rewrite.
Yeah.
So that takes us to 2.414, Roman numeral 14, 2.4, Roman numeral 14, recording of board meetings. And again, I don't think that's an OE, I think that's a responsibility of the board.
I think you're right in saying that. I know we had OE, but in thinking of the way we're thinking through things here, that is a board responsibility, isn't it?
Yep.
You do that, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a GC two something something two?
GC two, page 2,
Yeah.
GC 2, page 3, right?
Earl,
Right.
did you have?
No, you were
Oh.
saying that you were putting that in GC two?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're on page 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I vaguely recall there was something in there already that talking about how everything, already in the GCs, that said everything would be recorded in a searchable database.
Oh, gosh, I think you're right.
So all 7 through.
Here, number 8,
14.
GC 2.8, a record of all board action will be maintained online.
GC 2A.
Motions and the results of motions will be kept in a searchable database.
Yep, and I think we already have that,
Mhm.
and I think this might go with that. So maybe it's a GC 8, not a GC 2, or it's already covered.
Yeah, this was, yeah, GC 2.8.
GC 2 8,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's already covered, so take it out?
Or we can add it to number 8, just to make it more explicit.
Yeah, I would just add it to 8, I
I'd
think.
add, yeah, just
It doesn't hurt to emphasize
to make
that.
it beefier, yeah.
GC 2 number 8.
Yep, just add that. All right, that takes us to 3.9, 3.10.
Or 3.1.
Okay. Oh, 3.9 is so mercifully short. AR review. Um, Is that already an OE or a PE?
It's not a PE, it's not a P, it's not a
Okay.
PE.
That's where it belongs though,
Mhm.
sure.
And 310 where it says rewritten, but this was the law, this was the,
Well,
not the law, but this was the new policy, the teacher dismissal hearing.
3.10.
Yes.
what did we do with 3.9?
Yeah, what's 3.9 administrative regulation? That would be the superintendent authority for.
Right, but we think it's an OE.
It's a whole,
Okay.
Is that an OE though, if it's talking about board?
Directs the superintendent, see.
Well, the superintendent has that verb. Well, we got a verb, yeah, we got a verb too.
Superintendent will provide.
Yeah, he's gonna provide all proposed AR changes to the board for review and input. I think the burden's on the superintendent on that one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That
It
goes
is,
under superintendent
Is that yours,
accountability.
Teresa?
Is that,
3.9, I'm sorry, I jumped.
yeah, I'm still trying to make sure we've disposed of 3.9.
Would that be BSR 5? Superintendent accountability? I'm just asking. No, that's right. No, the board considers.
Yeah, there's something about communication, but this is real specific and our history has pretty much mandated that we do this.
Maybe we put it in, like you said, BSR 5, superintendent accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I could go with that.
Me too.
BSR 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be number. Yes.
Teach-
there's
teach.
10 in the GC.
10R,
Yeah,
R
bodies
means
rewrite.
rewrite.
Yeah, rewrite.
And,
This is
and
about the
guys,
hearing officer.
yeah,
Oh, rewrite.
I am gonna tell you, you can see what, there are very little notes on this, we were definitely running out of time, so I would take that kind of with a grain of salt.
Pat, do you want me to get the statute on teacher dismissal?
I think this is all from.
Because I think a lot of this is from that statute.
That's where it came from.
Yeah.
I'd be
It's
okay
on
with just
statute.
This was new and it came from the
Yeah.
statute.
putting it right in as it is then.
Yeah, because that's a statutory requirement, yeah.
Yeah, it's new and it was written by Drew Davis.
Mm-hmm.
But he
And
took it from
I
the
would-
statute.
I would hope
Right.
that it was derived from law, but I can't
I
say
can
that
double
for sure.
check it with the statute, because there's a teacher
Okay,
dismissal
we're gonna double
statute.
check.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
double
this is,
check this
yeah,
thing.
this is the hearing officer piece.
okay.
Yeah, because that's when they decided to go with
Yeah.
having a
Alright,
hearing
so-
officer.
That's Wendy to do.
Yeah. I can go get it right now,
And
since we still have time.
If it is
You guys
legal,
want me
where
to?
would it go?
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be in,
I think it goes under GC.
on governing,
Yeah, because we're
Because
delegating.
you're
Yeah,
gonna be
because it's
hearing
talking
it.
about board action.
Yep,
yeah,
yep, I agree.
and maybe just make a whole new section just for this.
Yep,
Teacher
next
dismissal
available
process.
number under
Yeah.
GC two.
Horry County doesn't have
Or
it in there,
two.
do they?
Or just
I think
all
they
of just
would.
GC.
Number two is our job description, so
Okay, all right, yeah.
Do you see?
next available number under two.
GC.
But Wendy's gonna check and make
Yeah.
sure that it's
GC.
um,
Do you want, yeah.
derived from law.
I can go get the statute right now. Can you
Sure,
got 30
that'd be
minutes?
great,
I'll go do it right now.
that'd be great,
I'll be right back.
and I can
Let me
take a
get
break
my
from
book. Take a little break. I'll go get
another
the book.
water. Because that gets us through this OE section.
And if we're through with this, I need to ask a couple of my clarifications.
Yes, ma'am.
GCs. So with policy 2.1, our policy 2.1,
Mhm.
number 10,
Mhm.
I think it says we were moving it to a GC, but I didn't know where we were moving it to. It says respect the value and importance of all BCSD students and employees.
And I thought that was already covered.
So it was covered, so I didn't need to add
In
it.
GC one, under the purpose, kind of,
So I didn't have
all
to add it.
persons have
Okay.
it.
Yeah,
Because I have GC one by, with a question mark, so I wasn't
yeah,
sure.
it's already covered.
All right. Already covered. And then I have, this is policy 2.4, school board meetings. Section 11, where it says board meeting minutes and materials. I have add to GC2 number 8. That
Yes,
would be A through C. Is that what we're supposed to?
yeah, I think that's very similar to what we were just talking about. I'm pretty sure that's
Would you ask that again? GC
So it would be
2.4?
policy 2.4, school board meetings.
Right,
Number 11,
Number
board
11.
meeting minutes and materials.
Mhm.
And then it's section A through C. And I have add to GC2 and make it number 8.
okay. I have that we were, letter A
Mhm.
was gonna just be crossed out. Do
Okay.
you have that, David? Earl, do you have that by chance? The contents are in accordance with the law, because we said we're governing lawfully.
So
So
I
I
would,
thought,
Yep,
we don't need A.
okay.
No.
And then,
B and C, that's where I have it arrowed to. So B, the board secretary should ensure, and I'm saying we should go to GC2.
you have GC two.
Yeah. So is that not, okay. That's why it's a question mark.
Yeah.
I didn't move it anywhere, cause I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not sure this doesn't look right.
Now that's, you know what, I said, I have my notes here, moved to 3.1.
Geez.
So move to policy 3.1 underneath board officers in the election process. Okay, which then would mean it would go to
Cause this is about the board secretary.
board secretary. And so see, GC4 is all about
The officers.
officers' roles.
So I need to add it down then, under the secretary's duties then.
I thought so. That's what I have, is moving to where the roles are, the officers' roles.
Ensure that. Yeah, I'm with that.
Okay, so that's GC4.
Yeah, GC4.
And put this under the secretary, because this is the secretary's duties,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure.
Right. All of that, it says board
Mhm.
secretary shall, the board secretary, so.
Okay. And one more, what's my other last ticket? Policy 3.5 of hours. Do we agree that I didn't need to take any of this because it was already covered under GC 9? Or was I taking all of this instead of their GC 9?
I think we agree that that's gonna be an extended discussion,
So don't do anything with it.
and it's already, you've already noted in the
Okay.
document that it is 3.5.
Yes,
Nine
okay.
and
All right.
5 are the same.
I saw that, but I couldn't remember why I did it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, so that takes care of it.
Okay, and what do I have here was voted out in April 2018?
What?
It was, and that's the problem where it was
I would find out.
it was a policy reading where the motion was made.
Yes.
So the question is, and there's two interpretations. One is that that policy was immediately effective, and the other interpretation is that that motion applied to the reading.
Oh,
And so
gosh.
since that one didn't pass, that we were
Right.
re-dealing with,
So since you didn't get through the readings, then
The original.
The original
And
was
this is the
still in
original.
effect,
Yes.
yeah.
Got it, okay.
So that, and I think it's valid to have either one of those opinions. So we're just gonna have to take it,
Okay.
kind of take it head on when we go through our review. Because 3.5 was reviewed by the AG and they said it was okay. We didn't know that before.
Just because you just said that now, last meeting, didn't Wendy say she was going to see if she had some information on an AG opinion on something? Didn't she say she was, she said I had to check on that?
Some policy, I think she was gonna
She's
check.
checking with the teacher, but
Yeah, that was the one with the teacher.
I found that, I found
Last
that
maybe
AR
that's
on
last
it too.
meeting. Last meeting, she
I
was
found the
instructed
AR.
by a board member to do that, but the board did not ask her to do that.
This
Being
one,
we were in board
I got
meeting.
that attorney general,
Yeah, that one's
about
on this one.
annexation, we need to go over and get that,
You,
okay?
David, I thought
I
said
don't know.
something about there was an attorney,
And
AG
I saw
opinion
the-
on
the
that, and
county
Wendy said, oh, I
attorney
need to look to see if
And he
that's
said
come
it's
in.
nothing's going on.
On 3.5?
I don't know, I don't remember what was on.
I know I asked about 3.5.
Okay.
And so I believe the AG reviewed that exact wording and said it was good. Permissible. Not good, but permissible. All right, Rachel, Wendy is back.
Hey, Rachel, we actually have an administrative reg on this. On the teacher dismissal. So I'm gonna actually double check and see if we're verbatim. So, 5925.
They look real familiar to me, but I just wanna make sure. Okay. Y'all can go ahead while I check this thing.
We're done.
Hmm? Are y'all, oh, y'all are finished for the day?
Well, because we have to plot our next steps.
Okay, y'all plot while I look at this.
Um,
Y'all made a lot of
yeah,
progress.
The next step is gonna be taking all of our PEs and matching them to the OEs in here and figuring out how we're gonna deal with them. I don't have any confidence that the committees are gonna,
Well, I think that,
it would be great, but I just don't have that confidence.
I can just.
I've already gotten pushback in operations on putting that on the agenda.
okay. Well, since we're familiar with the process, maybe we just do it right here.
Yeah, I would just do it because
Yeah.
that way we don't have to count on anybody else doing it. It'd be great if academics could do it. I anticipate that the other two members of the operations committee will not do it.
Yeah. Well, let's just keep it right here. Kathy's on the academics committee anyway, and she'll, she's already started doing it, because I wrote down some of the ones. I've already started doing it, so, then we'll just get through all of them. All right.
I'll do you need me to resend you the PEs? All of
That
them,
would be
because I
great.
have no, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to make
All right.
sure I have the most up to date. I mean, I'm sure I.
I'll resend them all, I'll
Okay.
just to make sure you have them all.
And then,
We'll match those first,
Mhm.
and then we'll check and make sure they're derived from the strategic plan.
yeah, so, and so when it says the DRP, is that
That's the,
district renewal plan?
yes,
Not, which is the same as the strategic plan?
no, because there's two, there was the two. There's the district, I get my acronyms mixed up. One is, the SP is the strategic plan.
And that's not referenced in our PEs.
Yes, it is in some. Okay, no, this is the district, the advanced ed, and then this is our strategic plan. It should be SRP and not DRP.
Oh,
So
that's why I was confused.
So I corrected it, so you have the book that I originally gave you, but the Ps have the SRP,
Okay,
strategic plan.
so that's a district strategic plan that, right,
Yeah,
okay.
the
Okay.
advanced ed, so what they did is had to
Yeah.
reference both of them.
Right, yeah. I was working on that,
Yeah.
trying to figure what, but I just wasn't
It should
sure
have
what,
been
and
S.
that's just, okay, that makes
District
sense.
strategic plan.
Right, okay.
So the S is left out.
Yeah. And maybe, well, Robin, maybe you could also explain, so, like you got the instructional program, but, all of, I should think through my question before I had you. Okay, so, these are our 5 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mhm.
They're not in the same order as the
Right.
other, but it doesn't really matter, but, so, like, it might have taken, for instructional programming, it didn't come all out of teaching and assessing. They would take it from different areas depending on whether it was achievement, learning, or administrative program, right? So, like, this comes from
So if-
2.1, which would have been resources, but it's all under instructional programming. So how did they make that decision?
So let me go to what the strategic plan, so this should be. Purpose and teaching and assessment, so we'll go to three.
Right, and most of these are 3, but some are
Yeah.
4s,
Um,
some are 4s, some are a 2. And so I'm just wondering, how did they decide, who decided, and how did they decide which PEs?
So how they did that is the senior staff person, instructional, so it would be Dr. Rhodes and his group.
Got it.
So they would take the strategic plan and the advanced ed, and so these are the things that they, we would look at the goal and said, these are the things we will report on. Brought it back to the board based off of feedback. And they took those straight from the PE
Straight from the strategic plan.
the strategic plan.
Right.
And that became the PE of what they were gonna report on.
Right.
So this PE could change each year. Or some of them were consolidated together. Like like PE 1 I can't remember the
Okay.
numbers, but some of them were consolidated because it's like, well, all of that can just fall up under one. It's still talking about instructional program.
Okay.
So it didn't have to be a separate PE.
Right, so they could take it from these different
Mhm.
quality indicators.
Yes,
From the 5 different sections and say that belongs in this area.
yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Do the PEs changed every year? They could-
Sometimes they could have. They didn't always, but some were consolidated, some were deleted.
Okay,
And when we did the work plan each year, they would bring back the proposal and say, you know, we saw that, if the board said, well, we no longer wanted to see that, we wanted to focus on something else, then that's what they changed and deleted that PE. I mean, off of the work
right,
plan.
off the work plan.
They didn't take it out of the PE.
But if the results in the OEs or PEs are the oversight, then I wouldn't think that they would change. Operational expectations, I wouldn't think would change on an annual basis.
Now, a couple of the PEs, when they looked at it to review the PEs, they looked at it to see if there was some overlay. So we combined a couple of the PEs, because that's why some of the numbers got off. Because, I'll just use an example, it could have been a communication with the board and then communication with the public.
Okay?
Well, a couple of those really could have been consolidated, and it didn't have to be its own separate, so that they combined
it.
that.
Into into one PE.
Into one
Got
PE.
it, okay.
Yeah, I got no
Yeah.
problem with that.
Yeah, me neither.
So that's why when I say PEs change, in that
Okay.
instance, that's
Okay.
when PEs would change. Because they were looking at the wordings, and it's like, well, you don't need, these
Yeah.
two things match real closely to something else, and so we can delete
Got
that, and
it.
it's covered under here.
Right, okay,
That makes sense.
it does.
All right. So for our next task
Okay,
is to review the PEs, match them to OEs. And as I recall, what we're gonna do is we define the operational expectation and then give it to the superintendent. The superintendent tells us the measurement, and then we agree. So we just have to define that high level. We don't have to get into the measurements. So that'll be our next task. Another task we have, which I think maybe we'll hold off till a little later, is reviewing our current policies to make sure we didn't miss any when we did this quadrant thing.
And what I started at last meeting we had was trying to take the PEs and say, PE1 is either covered
Mhm.
or we moved it so that you could see where we moved it to or what we did. So that would also help to see what we've missed.
you mean policy?
Policies, I'm
Policies,
sorry,
right.
policies, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay,
I started doing that last month so that you all could see,
Yeah, you had that piece of paper that showed what
Yes.
things moved.
and that way it would help us to see if anything was what we're
Right.
missing, yes.
all right, so do we
Do
want?
you want me, is that clear, do you want me to continue to go that way or do it differently?
That would, yeah, I was assuming you'd keep that up.
Yeah, okay,
And then we'll look at that and go back against our current policy manual, make sure nothing was missed.
Okay.
Do you want to do that next before we go into the PEs, or do you want to do the PEs first?
Rachel, I don't know about you, but I would feel more confident knowing that we had a full, made sure that everything was there before we start trying to
Yeah.
match it up and say, well, this is missing. Oh, well, it's missing in the policy manual too.
All right, so that'll be the first thing we do next time. We'll review all the current policies, make sure they're all in this quadrant somewhere, in one of these quadrants. And if not, then we'll do what we've been doing and see where it goes into the new thing. That's the first thing we'll do. And if we have extra time, we'll start reviewing the PEs.
I'll send them to you anyway, so that way you
Yes,
can
ma'am.
start, you can
Sure.
start.
Yeah, because if we
Send
do,
them today.
if we do homework, it goes faster.
Yeah.
Another task I have for us in the future is something Rachel brought up, I believe, was what is the role of the handbook? We need to be clear on what the role of the handbook is and how do we do revisions to it.
Okay.
Does it require, board vote, or, how do we do that? But I think that's probably gonna be a third order. The other two, I think, are more important. And then the only other issue that I have is what I mentioned earlier, where do motions go? After motions are made, where do they go?
Good question.
Yeah, because from your committee, Rachel, we had a lot of discussion about motions becoming policies and which
I
one
think
was.
that we should maybe create something like an overarching statement that's in, under GC, that says any motions that come out of board action, board meeting actions, that part of the process of a motion that creates a policy, that we should designate at that exact time. Is this a GC? Is this an OE? Is this, where does this go?
Yeah.
So that it's not something that's, left to happenstance.
That's a good idea.
That should be a discussion that occurs when the motion is being adopted.
I agree completely.
Or if
Is
it's
there-
already done. Because you
Or
could
what?
make a motion for, that's already a policy that you have.
Yeah, could be. And it might be a motion that doesn't change a policy, and we need a repository for that too. And I think that probably goes in the handbook or something. I don't know where that goes, but it's, at some point in time, I'd like to resolve that issue.
Yeah.
So maybe that when we do the whole, the ones that Tina pointed out that we didn't have existing, that might be one that we need to create.
Yeah. Okay, everybody grab your phone, and we'll see when we have our next meeting.
Next week, are we looking at next week?
Yeah, because I don't want to meet
Okay.
tomorrow.
All right, so.
Although
Monday.
Saturday's always an option for me, if you all want to get together on Saturday. That's better for your schedule.
Monday's academics at 4:30. Tuesday is agenda setting and that's it,
And it's Beaufort Cluster SIC at
Okay.
5:30.
okay?
Wednesday's operation.
Wednesday's
Wednesday
operation.
is operations on the 12th
That's at 4:30.
at 4:30.
So we can meet from 2 to 4 on Wednesday.
You know.
Did you say Beaufort Cluster's having another meeting on the 11th?
On the 11th at 5:30.
Okay,
Yeah, I just saw that email
okay,
from Shipsy.
okay.
Anything next week, I can't do 2 to 4 because I pick up my kids from school.
Okay.
Can you do earlier?
I could possibly do earlier depending on the day.
The 13th, if you all can do, in the afternoon is ACE board meeting. But I don't know if you all can do it earlier on the 13th. And then there's Friday the 14th.
Got the two boards meeting together?
No, that's just ACE's regular board meeting.
Yeah, because teacher forum is that night.
Is it, yeah, that's right, there's a lot going on that night. There's also, I
Yeah,
think, a
can't do
production.
that day.
So we got, what
My
options?
husband leaves town on the 13th because his grandfather passed away and he's going up to Wisconsin, so,
I'm sorry.
13th and 14th, I'm kind of shut.
What about the 11th?
11.
Can you all do it? Can you do it early on the 11th?
Yes, I believe so.
I have a morning meeting that goes 8 to 10, but other than that, I'm good.
I'm good, the 11th is a good day.
You want like 10:30 to
10.
3? So I give you enough time, or 11 to 1?
11 to 1 would be a lot easier for me.
11 to 1?
Good for me?
And who would be bringing the lunch?
I'll actually be flying that
Next
day.
Tuesday.
I will be in the air. I will be flying. My
You're
plane
flying out.
leaves at 11:15 for Baltimore, and then I'm out, because my mom's having a indicator
Okay.
filter put on Wednesday. But I won't know for sure till Saturday night, because they have to do another culture on them, so
Okay.
it's still,
So,
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm
so we'll
ready.
plan for next Tuesday from 11 to 1?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Where's the agenda setting meeting?
Agenda setting is at, well, I'll know today because it depended on William's schedule, so I have both places booked.
Okay,
But if he
okay.
doesn't respond to me today, it's at Bluffton Library.
Got it, okay. All right, so Tuesday, the 11th, from 11 to 1.
11 to 1. And
Um,
we will do the missing policies first, and then
Would you be amenable to setting the next meeting as well? Just,
I'm amenable to it.
Yep.
just because maybe get it on the books?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So the following week,
Did you say the
17th.
school?
the 17th is open. That's Monday, the 17th.
That's a good day for me, because it's President's Day.
I'm judging the children's food competition at ACE, I think from 10, I know, from like 10 to 2.
Okay.
So I could do it after that, or maybe the 18th, the morning of the 18th.
That's board meeting day.
Is that
That's
too
fine.
crazy for you, Robin?
No. 'Cause
I can't do the 18th.
Okay,
Okay, back to the 17th.
can you do the 17th?
I could do 17.
Is our kids in school that day or not?
No.
Probably not then.
Okay, what about the 19th? We have a 4:30 academic committee meeting at McCracken, but can you do the 19th, David?
I can do the 19th, but then that's the end of that week, because
Yeah.
it's the convention.
Yeah,
What time on the 19th?
what's good for you?
I have a lunch meeting, and that's all.
And where do you have that?
That's in Bluffton.
Okay.
Can we schedule a meeting in Bluffton? Would that work for you to go to Bluffton, David?
I know where that is, yeah.
Yeah, I can't, I mean, we have to be there at 4:30 for the,
Because we're already there at McCracken at 4:30, so we could go ahead and schedule a meeting over there, if that would work.
Okay, what time?
can you do 2 to 4 on the 19th?
I gotta pick up kids from school.
Okay, what time can you do?
I could probably do, let's see, 5:15.
We
No, we have
a,
academics at 4:30,
Oh,
so we're trying to get it before the academics committee meeting.
oh, yeah, probably, because I've got the lunch at noon,
okay,
and then kids picking up starting at 2 to 3.
could you? Oh, never mind.
As I said, I'm always open on Saturdays.
I mean, you guys can go ahead and scribble, and I cannot, if I can't make one, that's fine.
Yeah, we probably should hold this off, because Kathy's not here, and we have to have 3
Right.
people for a quorum.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
we'll
But
just-
it's getting tight, I mean, like you said, I'm leaving for Idaho on the 21st,
Your daughter.
I'm out
Yeah.
of town from the 21st through the 27th.
and I'm at 21st or 25th. But that's,
I'm
you
back
guys
for the
have a
work session.
convention, right? You guys are going to the convention, and that's
Starts on
Friday,
Thursday,
Saturday,
right?
Sunday, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Thursday
So we
is
have
the
finance at 5 on that Thursday, because I only have Christina and David going, so
And I
then
have-
Friday and Saturday.
Eric duty for the 23rd, 24th, 25th, and
Okay, so, and the 26th, okay. So,
that
I mean, there's,
That week is not good anyway.
well,
Yeah, we're almost out of time.
we are, I know.
Well, you got a lot of it done.
A lot has been
Well,
done. You
no
guys
matter
have done
what, when we
great.
get to the work session, we're gonna be
gonna
reporting
be
on
ready.
what we've
Oh,
done.
absolutely,
Right.
yeah,
If we're not completely done, then that, so be it.
right.
By the time we get to the work session, we've already, like, next week, if we're identifying the policies that we missed,
Mhm.
and we've got them all placed, basically, you've gotten most of the work done, so you're taking
Except
the
for
hard.
the PEs, yeah.
Except for the PEs and the handbook and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be discussion anyway. So if we're going to take this, you all got the big part done,
Yeah.
we're,
Well, if the 17th works for Kathy, maybe, you know, Rachel, I understand, I know with the little ones that you can't do the 17th, but,
We could be in her house.
we could all meet at your house, it's exactly right. I think that competition is over by 2, so I could be somewhere by 3. I mean, I know that we're just losing dates here.
Yeah, we'll have to check with Kathy.
Okay, so let's kind of keep that open.
the 17th, if we could do it. Rachel, you need like at 5 o'clock?
On the 17th,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's her kids on the 17th, where,
yeah, because my kids will be with me. I mean, I can always bring them, but don't know how successful will be.
Well, I mean, if I plan for it to be at Bluffton Library, and we get in the small room, and they're at the library, would that be a problem, or would that work for you?
At 5?
That's,
I don't know. Seems suboptimal to me.
okay,
All right, let's,
okay.
we'll decide.
I've been waiting to use that expression all day. Suboptimal instead of bad.
That's a good word, I gotta remember that word. Suboptimal.
All right, we'll
Okay,
check
good
with
luck.
Kathy and then
Okay.
we'll work something out.
Okay,
Um,
so the next one is next Tuesday, the 11th,
At
from
11
11 to 1.
Yeah,
Okay,
and we'll see how much we can get through and then
okay,
Okay.
we'll also have a better feeling for our urgency for the next
true,
meeting.
true, okay.
And
All
I
right.
might chime in when I get to Baltimore.
We have 2 more
Go for it.
minutes,
I have it all in.
or we can adjourn.
Sure. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned, thank you.